mostly.
Ollie. All on.
Excellent.
All in. No, wait, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Different thing entirely.
Mm.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. You've got two of us this evening. Scouter Ken here, and just across the table, live and in person, Scouter Colin.
Hello.
It's already March, dang it.
I know. Although it feels like April.
Yeah, it's slushy enough to be April.
It's going to be near 20 tomorrow.
Too soon. Too soon. I mean, St. Paddy's Day, but still, too soon.
Well, at least the pubs will be able to have patio seating, I guess.
I guess, yeah. For all that...
For all it's worth, I mean.
It's a very slushy patio.
Yes.
Well, I guess we're not completely immune from background noise here. It's all right.
That'll kick on and kick off and kick on and kick
Yeah,
off.
that won't be annoying for the noise reduction at all.
No, not at all.
Actually, it's not adding too much to the background, so that's okay.
I'll try and shield it with my
Don't worry
coat.
about it. If only sound worked that way. Oh, my goodness. So how you been?
Busy. You know, I had a vehicle that has decided that it's not playing
Yes.
nice anymore. So I got to get that figured out. And it's a bit of a slog when you're diagnosing a starting issue, because it's like, you know, you have to take apart this to get to that, to get to this, to reach in and figure out if, you know, meter this or this wire and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little tough.
Bit of a pain in the butt.
But yeah, that's been that just recently happened, and then the less recent, yeah, just busy at work. Lots of things going, a lot of moving pieces going on right now. So
Ain't that always the case?
but yeah, so far so good.
Nice.
Keeping my head above water.
Well, good. At least one of us is.
And you, good sir?
I mean, work's been all right. Kind of a bit of a lull before things get heavy again. April's going to be pretty...
A busy month.
Pretty
for
heavy.
You. Yeah.
Might even see my butt get on an airplane. Who knows? Don't know at this point yet.
Oh, okay.
Just firming up some details on that.
Yeah,
Yeah. That would only be, what, a while?
Yeah.
I mean, I've flown places, but that was actually for, like, leisure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. This will be a work trip, first work trip in a while.
Yeah, well, I guess not entirely for leisure. Like, my grandfather passed away last month. Well, technically just right at the end of January, and then the memorial was last month. So, you know, a couple of flights there, but not quite leisure.
Not quite work.
But not quite work. This might actually be for work.
Yeah.
So, go see Oklahoma, maybe. Possibly.
Where the wind goes, we're going down the plains.
Exactly. And the waving wings, there's something used to sing that song in mixed chorus. I don't remember the lyrics, though, because
Yeah.
why?
Why?
I'm not going to...
I don't need to know those.
Probably sure I'm not going to need that knowledge anytime soon.
Anytime. Oh.
So, but I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, the rest of life stays busy. You know, we're doing stuff around the house, and kids are doing their stuff, and Scouts keeps us on our toes.
Oh.
You know,
Yep.
and I mean, that's actually been really good. Like Ella's been in Vents this year, and a bunch of our Scouts went up to Vents, and like basically, it's kind of been a deck clearing for the Vents. Actually, like all the old Vents more or less didn't re-up.
Oh, okay.
But like it's just a bunch of all new ones now come in.
Nice.
And, you know, Ian and Brian are enjoying it greatly because, you know, it's been a while since they've had Vents who are
Motivated.
quite so keen and motivated
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
like gung-ho. And they thought that it was going to be like every couple of weeks, maybe at best, and it's some months it's like been every week. Like they
nice.
want to meet, they want to do stuff, they want to plan, they want to go on hikes and whatever else. So it's been really good actually for them. Ella's loving it.
Nice.
So that's been awesome. And then today was the Beaver Hills Vehicle Rally, or I guess now they call it the Strathcona Vehicle Rally because we don't really have areas anymore.
Right.
So 8 tracks, so a little bit smaller than it has been in some years prior. But Still pretty good.
Or did the 59th track get donated to the...
We didn't this year, actually. They had initially asked, but then they wound up not needing it. We only actually took beavers this year. We didn't have any cubs that participated, and no scouts either. We do have scout truck races coming up on Monday. Well, I guess by the time this episode airs, it'll have been like a week ago.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It's all relative.
Yeah, but still, like, so Juliana's getting her truck ready for that.
Ah, nice.
And like we had the beaver buggy races about a week ago. And like, I mean, I do let the kids drive the build, right? Like if you look at all the buggies, like it's very obviously kid built. And I try to help out, like, where I can, but I don't want to be like, oh, this is clearly dad's car, right?
Yeah.
You don't want that.
No.
So like they're all very kid built cars, and then like I'll be there like trying to provide pointers, or like, oh, you want to try and do this? Well, maybe you could do it this way.
Yeah.
Things like that.
You can use this tool for this kind of thing, or
and I mean, if they need a power tool, like if I need to run a power tool, well, now Ella can too because she's done like wood shop stuff.
Yeah.
So that's good. But like if they need like some power tooling, fine, okay, like I'll run that, right?
But the fine work and that kind of stuff,
and I'll help them like hammer in the wheels,
painting and
and I'll do like some prep work for like there's the usual prep work you do. On just to like get the wheels turning nicely and whatever else, and every vehicle build is the same in that regard, at least how we approach it. But once in a while, you just get that little extra bit of luck. Something just goes a little bit more right than it usually does, and the end result is that old Kathy Mattea song, 455 Rocket. Every so often you build one of those.
Ah, nice.
So that was Williams' buggy this year. It was literally...
And the stars aligned and everything.
It just, hammered in the nails, same as always. After, and I mean, done the usual bits to like, get the nails a little smoother and whatever else. But like hammered them in, same as always, but just, the angle was like just perfect.
Yeah.
And they got just a little bit of cant.
Yeah.
They're just the right distance from the body, and they're nice and loose.
Yeah.
Not like the nail's not loose, but like the wheel is just, it's like nice and loose and like ready to roll. And
low friction.
It was borderline embarrassing watching, like, I mean, he didn't lose once at our like in-house race, right? At the group race, just undefeated the whole night. And then again today, it was almost embarrassing, actually. It's like, you have some beaver buggies that don't make it halfway down the track. And then his is like, I have to put like my jacket at the end of the track because even the friction strips are not stopping it.
To keep it from bouncing off.
Yeah.
No,
so
I got that.
It was, so,
nice.
But I mean, that was good. And then, we'll see how Juliana's truck does on Monday.
Yeah.
And what else? Well, and I mean, we've now got the official Scouts Canada content happening with the podcast, back-to-back live episodes. That was a bit of a stressor. And if you haven't, so like what they're doing, and I mean, like this was all kind of arranged by the communications director, the associate communications director, Mike, who's been on the podcast a couple times, but he set everything up. So like we use online studio streaming service. Record, we get the guests in, we get recordings, we get video recordings, audio, and then it streams live to like the Scouts Canada Facebook group, and then also their workplace based The Network.
Okay.
Then we can take like comments and Q&A from the so really good thing. And like they're using it basically to kind of be a vehicle for stuff that's coming up. Right.
Okay. Yep.
So the one we did last week was, well, the one it published on the episode feed last week. The actual event was the week prior. Was about something that's going to be material in April, like when Safety Week rolls around, and that's the content that they, are going to be pushing out on the program level. It's kind of like a mindfulness, and it's with like Busy Minds. It's a Canadian company. So it's so that's been cool too. But of course, like we kicked it off. We had intended to kick it off in January, had to postpone that. And then February was like crazy busy, so we didn't wind up getting to it until like late February. And then they wanted to get back on like the original planned cadence. So it's like we did the February thing, and then early March was just like, whoa, back to back. And I mean, it's great. You know, I'm always happy to let Scouts Canada use the podcast for their messaging and whatnot, but producing the episode audio and then also producing the video and trying to make that all work. Oh, that's been a lot.
It's a new one.
Yeah. So that back-to-back was not the best.
Yeah.
But we got through it. Don't have to worry about it again until another week or so here.
Yeah.
So anyway, no,
It makes
another
you
couple of weeks, like first week in April, second week in April.
Makes you appreciate just sitting in front of a microphone with no
No
visual.
Yeah. Even if there is some background noise from, I don't know if that's a freezer or whatever, but this is a lot easier. And, you know, just records to an SD card. So instead of downloading multiple gigabytes of video and then, but whatever. So that's been all right.
Well, good.
But beyond that. So actually, I wasn't really sure like where I wanted to go with this, but I think because I've seen now 2 and possibly now a third venturer go this route, it might be worth talking about a little bit.
All right.
And
I'm intrigued.
well, it's the Youth Scouter program.
Oh.
So in the Scouts Canada, and they've had this for a while, but they overhauled it recently. So it's been the case for a while where a youth involved in scouting, aged 14 and up, can basically take all the Wood Badge 1 training and be recognized as a junior scouter.
Okay. Yep.
Now, we never really used to emphasize this before because it wasn't particularly useful before.
Right.
They were still very limited in terms of like they, and like, I mean, I don't even know like exactly what the guidelines for the previous version of the Junior Scouter program were. But I know that it wasn't useful for things like ratio or as useful for things like ratio.
Yeah.
So we never really pursued it.
Right.
But within the last, I don't even know when they would have really started changing things, but within the last little while, they have changed the Junior Scouter program around a bit so that it's actually, for lack of a better term, useful. Which is to say that,
Now it actually...
So like Ella was showing up to volunteer as a scout with the Beavers anyways.
Right. But that never counted towards
well, it was good for her when she needed like volunteer hours for like her Chief Scout Award or like the classes she was taking in high school or in junior high, right? Calm or whatever. Yeah. So it helped for that. But yeah, she didn't like count towards ratio. She was just another
benefit
youth.
Like the scout group, other than the beaver colony.
Well, it did. I mean, it did. It did in the sense of
her knowledge and general relation to the kids.
But,
right?
From a ratio standpoint, she's one more youth.
Yeah,
she's not.
And in fact, it was probably it worked in opposite, right? Like because you need to make sure that
it's like it's nice to have her helping out, but she has one more youth, so we need to make sure that we're covered for
that. There's another adult.
Now, to be fair, we have a glut of Beaver Scouters, so not a problem. But yes, her showing up as a scout, very welcome to. And I mean, if you have older youth who want to come and be like a mentorish type figure to your younger sections, don't ever get in the way of that.
Yes.
Like let that roll, ride that wave. Yeah. Because A, those youth are probably more keen on scouting in the first place, but then B, they are going to be that older example of what comes next that the youngers are going to look up to, right?
That's right.
We used to formalize this, right, with like the Keos and the Kims. We don't really have those in the program anymore. But, if you have older youth that want to help out with the younger sections, never get in the way of that. But obviously, as youth, they are subject to ratio.
There were limitations.
There may be limitations there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, if you have a strong squad of scouters and you can take the extra youth, from a numbers perspective, great, good for you. Yeah. If your group's running a little bit lean on adult volunteers, then it might be more of a struggle. But that is also where the Junior Scouter program now comes in useful, because now in her capacity as a junior scouter for the Beavers, Ella, as long as there is one adult leader there, plus so if I'm there, plus Ella, we have 2.
Ah, nice.
So there is one other limitation. So 2 junior scouters do not equal 2 for the purposes of like, we have 2 scouters, we can, right? But 1 adult plus the junior scouter do count as 2 for the purposes of ratio.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
Okay. Nice.
yeah. So you can't just turn, a colony of beavers over to a gang of 14-year-olds who've all gone through their Wood Badge 1 training.
And his
As much as you might want to.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good idea in theory.
Yes. So in their wisdom, Scouts Canada have decided that this is not to happen. But
probably for the best.
definitely for the best. But if you do have an adult, then you can have really any number of junior scouters with that adult. And that's, that counts as ratio as normal, which was the big change, I think, that they made with the junior scouter program. And it's really, really good because, and I mean, again, like we had a glut of beaver scouters anyways. So, it is definitely nice to have Ella with us, because then we do have more flexibility if one of our guys, we have one guy works for a game company, right, local to Edmonton here. So when they are having network operations issues, he's got to be there, right?
Yeah.
He can't be with us. We have, and people get sick and whatever else. So it's nice to have, Ella there for the flexibility standpoint.
The switch hitter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, in terms of like, well, were we hurting for numbers before? Not really. But still, the flexibility is nice. The Cubs, though, benefited rather more because, so one of Ella's good friends in the Venturer Company applied for and got the role of Council Youth Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
One of the so Corey, the group commissioner, likes to joke, this venturer is my boss.
Which is kind of funny, but also true.
She is one of the Council Key 3.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So actually, I think she's in Montreal right now for some
Training or
national
something.
event thing that's
course
happening
thing,
for all
yeah.
the commissioners,
Yeah.
or at least the council people. Whatever. But so as part of being the CYC, she had to undergo leader training as well. So she's scouter trained. Oh yeah, the youth scouters don't have to submit criminal records check because, well, hopefully they don't have anything to. Yeah.
Well, that's
Most of the 14-year-olds I know don't even have driver's licenses.
Yeah,
so what
I
are you
was
gonna-
going to say they're
Right.
still getting rides to meetings from their parents.
Exactly. So like Ella just got her learner's permit, right? So and even then, like she's kind of an early, she's kind of a front runner among her friend group. So, but
Oh, I have to offload a truck soon. Do you want it?
yeah, needs a new starter and
No, I plan on fixing that.
oh, okay. Well,
Once it's fixed,
well, you know
then
what?
I will be selling it.
Oh, well, you know what? Maybe. Yeah. We'll talk. We'll talk. Keep me in the loop. Keep me in the loop. It wouldn't be the first time you sold your truck to a vent.
Exactly.
No, that's great. Like the fact that the Scouts Canada changed the
guidelines,
so that they kind of work to also benefit the group is pretty cool. I think that was a smart decision on.
I think it was
on their part.
And I mean, again, like Ella has been enjoying working with the Beavers. She just comes along. I mean, Ella would go to every scouting thing she could, right? Like that's that and curling. You know, like if that's all she did in a week, that would be the best week ever.
Yeah.
And but like, you know, we were a little bit leaner for Cub Scouters. So with, you know, her friend being able to like come over, like having done the training anyways, be just like, well, geez, I guess I'll just go hang out with the Cubs when they need me. Like, and that's, I think, you know, where I want to stress this is that, you know, this program does exist and we hear constantly about how groups are strapped for volunteers, and many are. But, if you have particularly keen youth in your ranks who, for whatever reason, might need volunteer hours, whether they're going after their King's Venturer, whether they're going after, high school credits, because various courses still require those.
Community service, yep.
Or, maybe they're part of some other youth club and they need volunteerism for that, right? Like, we're not exclusive in that regard. I mean, Ella is just like laughing all the way to the bank in terms of volunteer hours, right?
Right.
Like every Beaver meeting, Beaver Hills rally today is, another good 4 or 5 hour chunk of time, right? That she can just keep a record of. Like she is earning the hours like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I mean, like it's a feather in her cap too, because, she's going to have to start looking for employment at some point.
Yeah.
And, being able to say as, a 14-year-old, like, or as a 15-year-old, hey, like, here are opportunities that I had, to step up and demonstrate leadership, right? Like, I was the skip of my curling team. I was a leader for my brother's Beaver Scout colony.
All that good stuff.
I mean, it doesn't look bad on the resume.
No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
So I think that gives her a real leg up too in terms of like, future prospects and, finding whatever work she wants to get into.
Yeah.
So, but, again, we hear all the time, groups are struggling for volunteers, and they are. Every group I know is. Even some of our sections are, right? Like our, Green Troop, they're having a bit of a tough go, I think, with some volunteers right now. The Cubs to a lesser degree, but still. So if you can find some particularly keen youth, your older scouts, whether they're like your senior scouts, fourth year scouts, or they could be vent aged too, right? You can pitch them on the idea of becoming a junior scouter because they get to, take part in the same scouting adventures. And I mean, it's just an opportunity to sort of continue the scouting adventure from a bit of a different perspective, right? It's the same thing as like going to a jamboree as an offer of service versus a participant. At the end of the day, you're at a jamboree and you're taking part in the jamboree. Yep. It's from a different angle, but it's still riotously good fun.
That reminds me of the sentiment that it's like, what is the difference between a beaver and a rover? And it's the rover has a driver's license.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's
so I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, it's not wrong. I'll grow up when I'm dead.
Yeah, well, and that, I mean, I think that's part of like having a youth-led organization or the attempts to have the youth lead, right?
Yeah,
is because there's a closer age. It's not, older adults trying to
and in some ways this is kind of the ultimate
develop
of that,
a
right?
program. Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I mean, Ella's still 10 years older than some of the beavers, but she's definitely closer to them in age, and they gravitate towards her differently than they do to the adult scouters. And that's awesome to see. It really is. And then, too, again, like I said before, it's something that the beavers can look at and they're like, that's what's coming.
Aspire to, or like, if I stay in the program long enough. I mean, I think was part of the draw for us. I think going through the program is seeing the older sections and the relationships that were there, and just be like, oh man, that's so cool that they can do these things, and nobody's telling them what to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we make it look that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, advising has its own certain spin on leadership, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's not as direct, not as hands-on, right?
No. But at the same time, it's. And I mean, like, we've had some opportunities as vents, and I mean as rovers, right? Like, we always used to rely on rovers to fill in gaps in leadership when we needed to.
Very true.
But But this is different than that. Like this is an actual, like this is more formalized, and it's, and I mean, she's on the rolls as a scouter. She shows up in Scouts Tracker as, she's a scouter. They've already given her a name. She's Aurora. And yeah, it's just, and again, like, when you have those youth who are particularly keen on the program anyways, like this is just an opportunity for them to immerse themselves even more. And in a way that kind of lets them start to give back to the troop, which, like, that's huge. Right? That's huge.
Yeah. No, that's super. That's great.
So that is kind of the very brief summary of that. So, but I guess it is worth noting that if you do have people who want to do this, it's a bit tricky as to how to go about it. So, because like you actually have to, like Ella exists under my Scouts profile, right? Because she's a program participant. So, what has to happen is the initial part of like setting her up as a youth scouter is a bit convoluted. And I will see if I can pull up the exact instructions here, and if not, I will put them in the show notes, because it is a bit of a thing. Let me just...
Does it require like some sort of mentor or that kind of...
No, it's all the same training. South Canada Youth Volunteer. It's all the same training that we would do. That's the Woodbedge stuff through the Eustis Learning
But what
Center.
I'm saying is, like, does the junior scouter need like a senior mentor type thing? Or
No. So, and this is where it gets fun. Okay. Because she kind of needs her own MyScouts profile. So, well, actually not in... Yes, but no. Like, it starts... This is... See what I mean? Okay. So, to register a youth volunteer, it starts with the parent or guardian. Since consent has to be provided by the adult because she's not 18 yet. So, that's how it goes.
Right.
So you log into MyScouts as parent, and you select register as a volunteer, do the usual rigmarole of finding the group, and then it will give you the option to pick which person under your profile you're registering as the volunteer. So you, of course, exist in your profile. So if you don't want to register as a volunteer, don't accidentally select yourself.
Right.
But all your kids also exist under your profile. So log in, select which volunteer you need to register, or who's registering as the volunteer. Make sure you pick the right kid if you have multiple kids. Your beaver is not useful to me as a youth scouter.
Yeah. That's right.
Although I kind of saw that happen once. It was an accident. The parent got confused and clicked on the wrong button and then punched all their kids' information in. So that was funny to see. This volunteer registration, this person can only be 6 with that kind of birthday. What happened here? So once the youth is registered in the volunteer role and listed as pending, you have to update their contact email address to a new email address that's not currently in use for a MyScouts account. Okay, so you have to put their own email address into their contact info.
Right.
And then you log out of MyScouts. And then try to log into MyScouts using the new email address. Probably it won't work because what's the password? So then you have to select the I forgot my password link. Provide the new email address. You'll get the link to set a password. And then they will be able to log in finally as themselves and see that they have been registered as a volunteer. Okay. And then they can access the Eustis Learning Center, and then they can begin their training. And then they will get the periodic NAG emails if they don't finish that training within the set amount of time. 90 days or whatever it is. So, but the point is it starts with the parent logging in, registering as a volunteer, but picking the kid, but then also making sure that the kid gets their own MyScouts profile created kind of in the aftermath of that. Yes. It was a bit of a song and dance. So just watch for that. There's a help article. I'll put it in the show notes because
be patient.
Yeah, just work with it. Just work with it.
The idiosyncrasies of MyScouts.
Yeah, everybody I talk to at National knows that the tech is not the best. In fact, I think our new CEO Liam Burns was just in the Toronto Star talking about a few things with the program, but in particular, like we have some significant tech debt that we need to work past.
Yes.
So anyways, that is how you do that. And then, they complete the training, and once they're done, the GC approves it, signs off on it,
and away they go.
And invest them, give them a nickname.
Gopher.
Scott or Gopher. Oh, that's terrible. And then obviously, get him a red shirt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because like Ella will literally from like Monday to Tuesday, like flip from her blues for the vents to red for Scout. It's just, so
neat,
but it's good. So Junior Scouter program. Highly recommend.
I'm glad they revamped it.
Mm-hmm.
Retooled it, I guess. I don't necessarily know if it was a revamping, but
reworking. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Making changes for the better.
Absolutely. So, anyways, that is pretty much that topic. But I did have a funny story from today.
Okay.
So we're at the rally, and of course we have a few beavers there. And one of the other parents pulls me aside, and he's just like, "Hey, I don't have the invite cards drawn up yet, but like, my son talks about William a fair bit. So like, would he be keen to come to my son's birthday party?" Okay, cool. I mean, give me the date and time, and we'll try and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But then, he flags me down like 5 minutes later, and he's like, we were talking about something else, and I mentioned that I was living in St. Albert, which he wasn't aware of, right? And he's like, well, that's a kind of a long way for you to come to the group. I'm like, it's a long story. And he's like, well, okay, like, but you grew up like in the area, and I'm like, yeah, this was my group when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
And then he kind of thinks for a minute. He's like, like the lady across the road from me gave me like a box of like old kid toys and stuff. She's kind of like, and there were some group badges like in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking her about this, and she said that like her two sons had they'd both gone through and whatever else, and he's like, I wonder if you would have known them. I'm just like, I mean, maybe. I've been in the group with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trying to remember their names. One is in Ontario, and the other one is in Australia. I'm just like, is she a short little Asian lady?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your son a teacher? The one in Australia is a teacher? I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I know him quite well, actually.
I've known him since Cubs.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed her cooking many, many times.
Yeah, that's right.
So, ran into a friend Graham's mom.
Oh, that's a little bit of all right.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I quite enjoyed that. That was
It's a small world.
very, very, very. But had a little chuckle about that. It was just like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I love stuff like that. I do think I have a shout out.
I was just about to ask. I'm like,
and I need to deal with that too because stuff. What have I got here? Well, you know what? Hang on. Let me just kick right over to the inbox. There it is. Man, I have so many things here. Woohoo! Well, the big one here is... So, so this is from a lady named Emily, and she dropped a message via the contact form.
oh, okay.
On the website, and she said, hey, just listened to episode 88, Orienteering, which we did back in 2019.
Ah,
Said,
it was a good episode.
Yeah,
it's a
it was.
solid episode.
Twas. She said...
Talk about compasses and everything.
Well, funnily enough. She said, you mentioned don't get your compass near a big, powerful magnet. Guess what? I absent-mindedly put my compass into a zipped breast pocket during a break at land navigation training, right on top of my smartphone. When I went back out of the course, I was totally baffled. Suddenly, I couldn't orient myself. I'd been doing so well. Couldn't find the objectives or identify drainages, and I couldn't pass the field exam. Embarrassing. I was mystified. It took a couple of days for it to dawn on me that I had probably demagnetized my compass by putting it in the pocket lying atop my smartphone. It was completely useless and just pointed in random directions.
Mm-hmm.
Live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very, very true.
It is very true. I can also speak to firsthand experiences of
Having done something similar.
be out in the middle of nowhere and wonder how you got there and why it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, why does it... Phone, of course. Of course, the phone.
In this case, it was something else, but
Yeah, or that.
we didn't have smartphones back then.
That's
Ken.
true. That was a while back. But yeah, there were other magnetic things that one could easily.
Screw up a compass with.
Yeah. There was a friend I had in junior high who jokingly one year got me a Secret Santa gift of a magnet.
Oh yes,
And
rare earth magnet, perhaps.
no, just not like rare earth. I mean, it actually does work rather well as a magnet, but it's not a rare earth magnet.
Oh,
but,
okay. Not as strong as, but-
she jokingly said, "It's for a computer tower." You. Oh, you. So, anyways, Emily, truly sorry to hear about your compass and the
Yes.
course. That is genuinely unfortunate. But yes, it's weird to think like we don't always think of like what on our person might be strongly electromagnetic, right? You wouldn't think of a phone as being because. I mean, yeah, you can stick a magnet to the back of your phone, probably, right? But you wouldn't necessarily think of the phone itself as being particularly strongly magnetic. But of course, it's a high-powered electronic device.
Yeah.
It's going to generate quite a considerable EM field. And yeah, your average compass is not going to be happy to sit alongside that. And there it goes. I'm trying to think. Do I have anything else?
Shout out wise, not
Yeah,
for me.
no, yeah. Cool. Well, then I guess we can.
Is there something about contact stuff?
Oh yes, the whole
Yeah.
with the
the thing and the
with
stuff.
that email.
and
Yeah, the email
the-
that I
the- yeah. that
right.
thing.
that thing with the email that where people can email us.
Yeah,
that scouting stuff
Yeah.
podcast.
Share information and,
Yes.
and we in turn respond. And,
Yeah.
on
Right. That.
the
Like-
various platforms that we
like
are
Emily
on.
just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just like that.
Exactly like that. Right. So yeah. Contact form on the website, obviously, scoutingstuffpodcast.com. There's a contact form there. There's a little voice message button.
Yeah, leave a voice message.
Indeed. And if if you prefer to use your email client, good on you. Scoutingstuffpodcast@gmail.com or at outlook.com. I have both. And then beyond that, I mean, we're on various social media stuff. There's Twitter, Instagram. There's a Facebook page, which I think now connects you to like my WhatsApp. Like you can message me on WhatsApp or through the Facebook page. It's kind of there's both.
There's
And then also, I mean, technically there's a Snapchat page too. So,
well, look at us being all high tech.
yeah.
Although Snap is fairly is older, isn't it?
It is older
now,
but I mean, it still works. And I mean, it's where like, that's one of the platforms that like, my eldest will communicate with her friends through. A lot of them are on Snap or Discord. And we
I was
do
gonna
have the
say,
Discord server that nobody really ever talks on anymore, but like it's there.
Yeah. We resurrected for the odd podcast.
Yes.
episode.
Although now I have access to the Scouts Canada Streamlabs instance too. So, fancy.
Oh, fancy.
But anyways, any or all of those, or, can find me haunting various scouting pages on Facebook because I do that. Alrighty. Well,
I think that's it.
I think that's it. So a short little episode, but hopefully something useful for, your program, especially if you are a little bit strapped for volunteers. And thank you for listening. And until next time, be prepared.